Welcome to the deep dive. So let me ask you this. How often lately have you found yourself feeling like it's just, I don't know, getting harder and harder to agree on basic facts, or even just to separate what's truly objective from, well, someone's opinion?
Yeah, it's a really unsettling feeling, isn't it?
It really is. Like our shared understanding of truth, the ground beneath our feet, is maybe eroding right before our eyes. So this deep dive is all about unraveling that exact feeling, that phenomenon. And we're focusing on Jennifer Kavanagh's really pivotal 2018 book, Truth, Decay.
Right, published by the Rand Corporation. And it's important to remember this book didn't just, appear out of thin air.
No, not at all. It felt like a direct, almost urgent response to those huge shifts we saw in the American information environment.
Exactly. Think about the explosion of digital media, right? And those relentless 24-hour news cycles.
Oh, yeah. And that huge surge of misinformation that really seemed to kind of take hold after this 2016 U.S. presidential election.
That was definitely a catalyst. And this book, it wasn't just written for academics. It's really aimed at policymakers, educators, journalists.
Honestly, anyone who's concerned about the integrity of democracy, right?
Yeah.
And public discourse.
Absolutely. And just so you know, as you're listening, you are experiencing something a bit different. A unique two-host AI conversation. This is powered by Google's NotebookLM, and it's designed for, deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
Yeah, our goal here is really to give you a shortcut to understanding the core ideas, maybe serve up some surprising facts, and hopefully keep you hooked along the way.
So maybe the first thing we need to do is get a handle on what Kavanagh actually means by truth decay. It's a term she coined.
Right. What is it specifically defining?
It's meant to capture, and this is her definition, the diminishing role of facts and analysis in public life. So it's not just a vague feeling.
It's specific.
Very specific. The book breaks it down meticulously into 4 distinct, pretty concerning trends that really define this decay.
Okay, so if truth decay is this big, kind of unsettling concept, how does Kavanagh break it down? What are the key symptoms or the things we should be recognizing around us?
Well, the book defines it quite precisely. It actually states that the term truth decay was coined to summarize 4 concerning trends. Okay, ready?
Lay on me.
Increasing disagreement over facts, blurred boundaries between opinion and fact, the surge in personal experience as evidence, and falling trust in traditional sources.
Wow, that's a powerful list, and frankly, pretty grim when you put it all together like that.
It is.
Let's maybe dig into that last one a bit. Falling trust in traditional sources. What does that actually look like in the real world, and why now? What was the urgent problem that made Kavanagh say, okay, we need to write this book?
Yeah, that's a crucial point. Because falling trust, it isn't just, people disliking a particular news channel. It fundamentally changes how society processes information entirely. Well, we've seen it manifest as, a willingness to just dismiss expert consensus or, verified reporting simply because it doesn't fit with what someone already believes. Or maybe they just prefer information that confirms their existing views.
Right, the confirmation bias effect.
Exactly. And to your second question, the why now, what's really fascinating is how clearly the authors saw this urgent problem, the diminishing influence of facts. Facts weren't guiding public life or informing policy or even supporting democracy itself in the way they may be used to.
They saw a direct threat.
A direct threat. They saw how new technologies and, let's be honest, escalating political polarization and even our own, built-in cognitive biases were all sort of converging.
Creating a perfect storm.
Kind of, yeah. It's not just one simple issue. It's this really complex interplay creating, honestly, a full-blown crisis of trust and comprehension in the public sphere. I mean, just imagine trying to make sense of complex issues like climate change or public health when the basic facts are constantly shifting or just openly debated.
Yeah, it makes progress almost impossible.
And tackling this wasn't easy for them either. They faced a real risk of appearing partisan, especially given how heated things were around 2016.
Right. How do you write about truth without sounding like you're taking a side?
Exactly. So they had to maintain rigorous objectivity, really rigorous, while still engaging a broad, diverse, and potentially skeptical audience. And that challenge was amplified by the format itself. A Rand research report has incredibly strict standards for evidence and methodology.
Okay, that sounds like a huge balancing act. So given that sensitivity, how does the book actually build its authority, its credibility? I mean, how does it convince you, the reader, to trust its findings on such a tricky topic?
Well, the authority or ethos is established pretty much immediately. Jennifer Kavanagh's credentials, she's a senior political scientist at RAND, plus her co-authorship, that carries immense weight right there.
And RAND itself has a reputation.
A huge one. Globally recognized for nonpartisan, data-driven research. So that association alone boosts credibility for a lot of readers. But beyond that, the book itself is just meticulously researched. Every claim has clear sourcing. It relies heavily on statistics, data from reputable institutions, extensive historical records. It appeals directly to anyone who values, rigor and evidence.
So that's the who says so.
Yeah.
What about the logic, the logos? How's the argument actually structured?
It's incredibly strong, logically. The core argument is laid out with, I'd say, remarkable clarity. First, the book identifies these trends of truth decay. Then it meticulously analyzes their underlying causes. And finally, it directly links them to these practical, damaging consequences like political paralysis and the degradation of civil discourse.
And it backs this up.
Oh, absolutely. With ample evidence, they move from historical examples like earlier periods of information challenges to comprehensive data analysis of current trends. And then they use really well-sourced case studies.
Like what kind of case studies?
They examine the pervasive influence of social media, for instance, the relentless impact of the 24-hour news cycle, the escalating political polarization we're all, feeling. And what's really crucial is their analytical clarity. They're very skillful at distinguishing between the causes of truth decay, the manifestations, what we see around us, and the ultimate profound consequences. It's a very tightly reasoned, logical argument.
Okay, so it's deeply analytical, very evidence-based. But does it manage to connect on a human level? Does it evoke any, emotional resonance? Does it make us feel the stakes involved?
That's a great question. While the argument is primarily driven by evidence, the authors are actually very effective at evoking a sort of profound concern, a concern for democracy itself, right? For the health of our civic engagement, the quality of public discussion.
How do they do that without, getting overly emotional or losing objectivity?
By highlighting specific resonant examples, things people recognize.
Yeah.
Think about the widely discussed impact of fake news on the 2016 election, for example.
Okay.
Or the ripple effects of increasing political polarization that people see in their own communities, maybe even within their own families. These aren't just abstract concepts.
They feel real.
Exactly. They're real-world phenomena that many readers have experienced or witnessed firsthand. And that direct connection, that resonates emotionally. It underscores the urgency of the problem for our society without being, preachy or overly alarmist. It's implicitly alarming, though.
That makes sense. So that brings us right to the core of it. We've defined truth decay. We understand its context, how the book builds its arguments. But what are the actual, tangible, real-world consequences? What happens when truth decays in a society?
Yeah, and the book is incredibly direct about this. The consequences are profound and damaging. It states very clearly, and I'm quoting again, the most damaging consequences of truth decay include the erosion of civil discourse, political paralysis, alienation and disengagement of individuals from political and civic institutions, and uncertainty over national policy.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Erosion of civil discourse.
Yeah.
That feels like something we experience almost daily now, doesn't it? It's not just that people disagree.
How they disagree.
Right.
Exactly. It's the inability to even have a productive conversation because there's no shared basis of facts to start from. People aren't just arguing different opinions anymore. Sometimes it feels like they're operating from entirely different realities.
And that leads directly to the next point, political paralysis.
Directly. Because if you can't agree on the facts of a situation, how can government act effectively? There's no consensus on the problems, let alone the potential solutions. So things just stop.
So it's not just that we're yelling past each other online. It's that actual policy, crucial decisions for the country, just grind to a halt because there's no shared reality to work from. It's like trying to build a bridge when half the engineers think gravity works differently.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah. And this paralysis, then it feeds right into the alienation and disengagement of individuals. Well, when people see that facts seem to be ignored, that decision-making is stalled or based on something other than evidence, they become cynical. They start to withdraw from political and civic life, feeling like their voice or even facts themselves don't really matter anymore.
That's worrying. And the last one, uncertainty over national policy.
That follows naturally. Without a common understanding of facts, public confidence in government action just plummets. It leads to instability because no one can agree on the foundational facts needed to make crucial long-term decisions about the country's future.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot to consider. And as we're processing these pretty complex ideas, maybe this is a good moment for a quick reminder.
Sure.
This deep dive, like all our work here, is really designed to spark reflection and critical thought on our YouTube channel. We're proud to bring you this kind of AI-driven analysis, and we're supported by partners like Mindful Moments who value that too.
Absolutely. So maybe now we can shift a bit and look at how the book manages to deliver such a powerful message. What are the rhetorical strategies? How does it actually speak to the reader?
Yeah, how does it make its case, effectively?
Well, building on what we said about the logic, let's look at the language and style. It's quite precise, even technical when it needs to be, but the authors consciously made it accessible. They really tried to avoid jargon overload.
Which is key, right, for reaching that broader audience we talked about.
Absolutely. That balance is crucial.
I noticed that too. It's not an easy thing to make such an intricate subject digestible. But the title itself, Truth, Decay, that's a pretty powerful metaphor, isn't it? It definitely stuck with me.
Oh, absolutely. That metaphor, decay, it's a really potent rhetorical choice. It frames the problem not as some sudden crash, right? Not a cataclysmic event.
But something slower.
Yeah, exactly. As a natural, slow, and inherently dangerous process. That language suggests the issue isn't just a fleeting crisis, but a systemic, gradual erosion. It makes it feel both urgent and, deeply ingrained in our public life.
That makes sense. What about the structure? How does that help?
The book's structure is also key. It guides you very logically through this complex argument. It starts with a clear definition of truth decay, then gives you historical context, then it kind of dissects its anatomy, explores the causes, the consequences, and then importantly, it proposes policy responses.
And it's easy to follow.
Very. It's all aided by really clear subtitle headings and effective signposting. It helps the reader navigate what could otherwise be, pretty dense argumentation.
So it's not just stating the problem, but tracing its history and offering a path forward. Does it draw parallels to past eras of misinformation? Or does it argue this is truly a unique moment?
It does both, actually. It uses juxtaposition really effectively. It contrasts previous eras of misinformation, like, say, the period of yellow journalism.
Right, Hearst and Pulitzer.
Exactly. It contrasts that with the unique scale and sort of novelty of today's crisis. So while it acknowledges that misinformation isn't entirely new, the book definitely argues that the current environment, driven by exponential tech advancements and this unprecedented political polarization, presents a challenge unlike anything we've really seen before.
And is there an ethical dimension to the argument?
Very much so. It emphasizes the ethical framing throughout. It underscores the profound societal and institutional consequences of truth decay. And it implicitly argues, I think, that it's every citizen's ethical duty to safeguard the role of facts in public discourse. It kind of urges this collective responsibility, but without ever becoming preachy or overly prescriptive about it.
Fascinating. So weighing it all up, in the end, how effective is truth decay in achieving what it set out to do? And what makes it such a nuanced and, important contribution to this whole conversation about our information ecosystem?
I think it's remarkably effective, honestly. It really succeeds in raising widespread awareness about truth decay and the profound stakes involved for society. And crucially, it offers both diagnostic clarity, helping us understand what is happening and why, and it provides actionable recommendations.
Which gives it practical value.
Exactly. That significantly enhances its pragmatic value, especially for policymakers and, concerned citizens, activists. Its meticulous sourcing, that carefully balanced tone we talked about, and the practical summaries ensure it effectively reaches all these diverse audiences, academics, activists, media professionals, the whole range.
And what about the nuance? What makes it stand out in that regard?
I think what truly makes it nuanced is its deliberate nonpartisanship. Its real strength lies in balancing that objective analysis with this profound ethically grounded sense of urgency.
So it avoids taking sides while still highlighting the danger.
Precisely. And its sophistication really shines in how it recognizes the interplay between all these complex factors. Individual cognitive biases, sure, but also fundamental changes in our information systems, challenges within education, and the relentless march of political polarization. It doesn't offer simple summaries or just point out rhetorical tricks.
It goes deeper.
Much deeper. It consistently analyzes why these rhetorical choices matter and how they ultimately shape societal outcomes. And it does all this while maintaining strict objectivity, avoiding sensationalism or partisan appeals. It really feels like a landmark intervention in understanding our current moment.
So what does this all mean for us then? For you, the listener, trying to navigate this increasingly complex world. I think Truth Decay, Jennifer Kavanagh's book, really eliminates the vital importance of understanding this systemic erosion of facts in public life. It's a problem that, well, it affects all of us, whether we realize it or not. It shapes everything from our daily conversations right up to national policy.
Yeah.
So in an age of information overload, where opinions often masquerade as facts and trust feels like a really fleeting commodity, maybe the final question is, what personal actions can you take? How can you sharpen your own critical thinking and get better at discerning fact from fiction?
It's a crucial question.
It really is. For anyone seeking to be well-informed and engaged in today's world, for more insights that challenge and inform, do explore Mindful Moments and our other deep dives right here. Click the link you see on screen for the full summary of Truth Decay. Please subscribe to our channel, share this deep dive with someone who you think needs it, and maybe consider purchasing the book via the link we've provided.
And most importantly,
keep thinking critically.